Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled Joe Burrow Chooses Iowa and Breaks the Big Ten. Imagine the most exciting quarterback in modern college football playing for Iowa. Yes, that Iowa, the program known for defense, punting, and games that end 13 to 10. But in this alternate history, one decision in the spring of 2018 changes everything. Quarterback Joe Burrow doesn't transfer to LSU, instead he chooses Iowa. And what follows is one of the strangest butterfly effects college football could ever produce. A conservative Big Ten program suddenly running one of the most exciting offenses in the country. A high-scoring win over Ohio State, a playoff run nobody expected, and a conference forced to evolve because of it. This is the alternate history season when Joe Burrow chose Iowa and broke the Big Ten. First, let's set the table for Iowa's offensive identity. For decades, Iowa football had a clear identity: defense, field position, elite tight ends, and controlled offense. Under head coach Kirk Ferentz, the program became one of the most stable in college football. But by 2018, something was becoming obvious. The sport was changing. Across the country, offenses were growing. Spread formations, tempo, quarterbacks throwing for 4,000 yards. Meanwhile, Iowa was still winning games 20 to 13. You may be thinking to yourself that Iowa didn't need to change, they were already winning. But in this alternate history timeline, the coaching staff realizes something important. Staying the same might eventually mean falling behind. So Iowa quietly begins evolving the offense. And that sets the table for the transfer that changes everything. And the opportunity that appears. Quarterback Joe Burrow enters the transfer portal after leaving Ohio State. In the real timeline, he chooses LSU. But in this alternate history, Iowa presents a unique pitch: a brand new offensive system built around quick decisions, tight end mismatches, and a quarterback running the offense at the line. Burrow takes the chance. Suddenly, the most conservative offense in the Big Ten has a quarterback perfectly suited for the modern game. And that sets the table for the Corn Raid. The new system becomes known as the Corn Raid, not a traditional air raid offense, but a hybrid. Spread passing concepts combined with Iowa's traditional strengths. Massive offensive linemen, elite tight ends. Instead of running constantly, Iowa uses quick passes as extensions of the run game. Seam routes going against linebackers. Tempo increases just enough to stress defenses. And suddenly something strange begins happening. Iowa is scoring a lot. And that sets the table for the Michigan Shockwave, as Michigan is their first major test. Michigan prepares for the traditional Iowa offense: slow tempo, heavy formations. Instead, they see empty backfields, vertical tight end routes, quick throws all over the field. Joe Burrow spreads the ball across the offense. Final score: Iowa 41, Michigan 31. And suddenly the conference begins asking a question: did Iowa just reinvent itself? And that sets the table for the conference reaction. You may be thinking to yourself that Michigan was already trying to modernize its offense, and that's true. But in this alternate history, the Iowa loss accelerates everything. Michigan speeds up its offense. More spread concepts appear across the conference. Programs start adapting. Because if Iowa can evolve, maybe everyone has to. But the moment that truly breaks the Big Ten is still coming. And that sets the table for the Ohio State game. Late in the season, Iowa faces Ohio State, one of the most talented teams in the country, led by Justin Fields. Experts expect a one-sided game, but Iowa keeps scoring. Burrow spreads the ball across the field. Tight ends dominate the middle. Quick passes neutralize the pass rush, and at halftime it's 24-21 Iowa. You may be thinking to yourself that Iowa could never win a high-scoring game against Ohio State, but in this alternate history, they do. Late in the fourth quarter, Fields throws deep, intercepted. Iowa kicks the winning field goal and wins 45-42, and suddenly the entire country takes notice. And that sets the table for the playoff push. From that moment forward, Iowa becomes a national story. Joe Burrow leads one of the most efficient offenses in the country. The defense remains elite. Iowa finishes the regular season 11-1. The Big Ten championship game becomes a rematch with Ohio State. Another close game, another offensive showcase, and Iowa wins 38-34. Iowa is now a Big Ten champion, and that sets the table for the college football playoff. You may be thinking to yourself that the playoff committee would never trust Iowa, but the resume is undeniable. Wins over Michigan, 2 wins over Ohio State, a conference championship, and Iowa enters the college football playoff. And the semifinal matchup becomes incredibly ironic. Iowa versus LSU, the team Joe Burrow did not choose in this alternate history. Iowa wins a dramatic game, and suddenly the most unlikely playoff team of the decade reaches the national championship. And the final opponent is Clemson, a powerhouse roster loaded with elite talent. The game becomes a clash of identities. Clemson's athleticism versus Iowa's revolutionary offense. Burrow throws touchdowns and Clemson answers. One of the most dramatic championship games ever played, but in the end, Clemson wins 42 to 38. And even in defeat, the impact is permanent because in this alternate history, Iowa didn't just make the playoff, they forced the Big Ten to evolve. Tempo increased, as did passing numbers, and the conference that once resisted modern offense finally changed, all because of one transfer decision, which is why fans in this timeline remember the 2019 season for one unbelievable reason. That was the year Joe Burrow chose Iowa and broke the Big Ten. And if you enjoyed this alternate history scenario, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the other college football what if stories appearing on your end screen right now.